Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I do have somebody with me today. I'm going to have her introduce herself. Today's topic, as you can see on the title, is mental health, and she knows a lot about that, but I'm going to just let her do all the talking. So go ahead, girl.
Well, thank you for having me, and my name is Anita. Yes, this is about mental health, and I studied psychology in my undergraduate, and for graduate school, I went to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So currently, I am in my residency to get my license in Virginia as an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor, so I can be a therapist.
Very
Um,
nice.
yes. So right now I am working at an admissions department for a behavioral health agency here in Virginia, in which I assess folks and diagnose folks and link them to resources as needed, like therapy, case management, substance abuse treatment. Prior to COVID, I actually work in a crisis stabilization unit, which was a residential unit for folks who have either been hospitalized and needed a step down, needed more time to kind of get settled and with their medications and things like that, or to start new medications. But because of COVID and having folks gathered more than 10 at a time, we had to shut that down temporarily. So that's what I am doing.
Okay. And tell us a little something, like, what do you plan on doing with your degree? What is your dream job?
So my dream has always been, it's so funny because like when I love television and watching television growing up, I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist, didn't realize that was med school, and I was like,
We all been there.
because television makes like psychiatrists, they portray them as like the therapist, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I actually always wanted to be the one to kind of process life with whatever individual. So that's what I want to do, and I've done a little bit of that in crisis stab on a kind of smaller scale. I did more group type of therapy, but what I would like to do is do some individual therapy, maybe have a private practice or work in somebody else's private practice.
Okay, girl, yes.
Things are always changing. It's a really huge field. Like you can really do a lot with a license. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's cool. So I definitely wanted to start talking about this because we see the need for this, especially in the Black community, which I'm sure we'll get into, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. But I think we can first start with like the taboos and myths about getting counseling or therapy. Like, what are the things that you hear? Because I know I have a list of things that I hear all the time, but what do you hear about the myths and taboos of therapy?
Okay, so a lot of people think that if you go to therapy or receiving therapy that you are like severely mentally ill.
Yeah.
The word crazy is kind of thrown around, and that's really not the case. Therapy is for everyday people. You don't have to be schizophrenic. You don't have to be bipolar. Um, Depression, yes. Anxiety, yes. And those are two of the leading mental health, I guess, words that we've been hearing a lot.
Yeah.
Feel like, and we'll talk about this too, like, yes, mental health is taboo and it hasn't been talked a lot about in the last, I don't know, couple years, but I feel like it's actually changing. And those two words are like for people who are in the field, and we work with like just all different type of mental illness. I feel like those two, depression and anxiety, are the two words that we've been hearing a lot lately. So I feel like a lot of people are going to therapy for that, or transitions in life, relationship issues, you know, feeling lost, like, you know, their self-esteem. There's just so many different things that people are struggling with inherently, and they're not talking to anybody about it and struggling it alone, and they can seek out a therapist to talk about these things. So I would say that's like one of the number one myths or taboos.
Definitely agree. And I think also to like segue into that, I know both we're Ghanaian, so we know culture is a big thing. Girl, let's talk about culture in our community, in our Ghanaian community. And I'm sure other ethnic groups experience this too.
Yes. So I feel like, I don't know, and you can add in.
Yeah.
So like it's like you have issues, it stays in the home. It stays in the family. You don't talk about
Yeah.
it with nobody.
Yep.
Talk about it with the family for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe you discuss it once, and if you bring it back up, oh, there's
Like,
still a problem.
yeah, why holding on to the past? Let things go.
Like, come on now, move on.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. So yeah, in the African community, in the Ghanaian community, I feel like the younger generation has to teach the older generation
Yeah.
that it's okay to seek out help. It's okay to get medications for, not being able to concentrate, not being able
Exactly.
to sleep. Like, there's so many psychotropic medications, which I know because you work, with
Girl.
medications all
Yeah.
that can help with these things.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand. That's not something that they were raised on. So
That's
how would
something
they
you do.
understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
If they had to talk to anybody, it might have been their pastor or something like that.
Yes. My favorite line is just pray about it.
Just pray about it.
There is
Oh,
nothing wrong with prayer. Like, I'm a Christian. God heals all things, but he also, I believe he gave us wisdom to seek out help.
but what is that saying? Work without. You know exactly what
I know it. That was the type of like,
bad with you. Like if you don't do the work, like you can pray all
right.
What are you gonna do about it?
Exactly. Like I said it before, I truly believe that we also need to use wisdom in all things. And if something doesn't seem right, get
Go
the
seek
extra
out
help.
professional help. Listen, when we
Mm.
get sick, when something breaks, our arm
Right.
breaks or whatever, we go and see a
Right.
doctor. Yes, we pray to get healing from God, but what else do we do about it?
It's prayer without works is dead.
It's dead.
And now I just thought about it.
It was
I
gonna
thought
come.
of my mom because she always says that. That's like her line. But yeah,
Know this by heart.
you gotta put in the work.
You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
So like it's so easy, and I like to bring this up. Like I do this a lot with my clients
Mm-hmm.
in group. Like, all right, you broke your leg, you broke your arm. What are you gonna do about it? You're gonna go to the doctor, so you can
Exactly.
get it fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're not gonna be like, oh, shake it off, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Kind of like depression. Like people don't realize how much depression can keep somebody down. You can't just shake depression off and it's going to be fine. No, you have to seek out treatment. You have to learn what it is that you have to do, whether it's taking medications, what coping skills to manage these symptoms. And you can't just do that with just praying alone.
Right. And I like when you said coping skills, because, those are the things that we need. Like, it doesn't mean like people think that you have to be really messed up to go into therapy. I mean, I like in 2018, I had a really, really rough year in school. Like things were just really bad for me, one thing after another. And I prayed a lot, and I'm going to say God did help me, but I feel like he led me to also get counseling. On my campus, we had free counseling, and I was like, it kept popping up on my email, and I was like, all right, God, you're telling me something. I need to go talk to somebody. And I went and I spoke to somebody, and they gave me like coping skills with like how to handle certain things, because we all experience different things in life. We go into different seasons, and this whole school thing was very new for me. I'm used to undergrad. Grad school is a whole different ball field. I'm sure you understand.
Beast.
Like, it is different, okay? So I needed a little help because just I had a lot of personal things going on, and I just couldn't deal with it. And it wasn't like I was laying on the couch and they had like a pen and paper and they'll tell
Which
me.
is another myth.
That's another myth. Like, that's not, I mean, I wouldn't mind laying down. I'll probably fall asleep, so it's a good thing that we don't have that. But it wasn't like that. I mean,
everybody has this picture from like television of like how it's supposed to look like.
Exactly, and it wasn't like that.
Different. Yeah.
Right. It was like talking to a friend, actually, and we just did activities, and it was just nice to have somebody that was listening to me. So I don't know, like, if you had any like personal experience as well.
Well, as a therapist, right, we definitely advocate for self-care.
Yeah.
So I'm sure other therapists would say that getting your own therapy would be beneficial if you're going through something that you need to kind of process with someone else. I'm all about that. I feel like 2016 was my rough year. I mean, oh my gosh, so many ups and downs. So
Yeah,
I sought out therapy, and yes, it's so helpful because you have somebody else kind of looking at what's going on with you, and it's giving you another like viewpoint and how you
exactly.
can kind of help yourself and so you're not in it by yourself and you're not struggling
Mhm.
alone, you're not keeping it all to yourself, you have that outlet, and before you know it you become comfortable with this person and you look forward to,
Yeah,
oh, I can't wait till next week so I could tell
right.
about all of this. But I do want to piggyback on how you mentioned counseling on your campus, um,
Yes,
which is a great resource. I think another myth or taboo is that counseling or therapy can be very expensive. And
exactly.
actually, you can find like cheap or like
Or even free.
free. So there's pro bono, which means free counseling that either is community centers, churches, school, if that comes with your package. And then also check with your insurance. If you have insurance through your job or on your own, a lot of these carriers are now adding therapy, and your copay could be like maybe $20-$25. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
that's what
Yeah.
it was for me. Not to say like that's what it would be with everybody.
Hmm.
Depends on the package that you chose, but
Right.
that's an option too. And there's people who also do sliding scale. So don't let um, the myth that therapy is very expensive
Expensive.
kind of drive you away.
Yeah.
Um, Look into resources in your community, and then you can find something that works for you.
Okay. And like, I don't know, I feel like people only think there's like one type of therapy and counseling, but I feel like you can explain it a little bit more because I've heard like now that I'm in the world of like counseling and stuff and I understand a little bit more, I realize there's different types of counseling. It's not just what we see on TV, the whole laying on the couch thing, but like there's different types, like group and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit more.
Yes. So, okay. So there are people who are trained in specific types of therapy. So let's talk about trauma. There are people who are trained for trauma therapy
Hmm.
specifically. So you can go to somebody who's trained for trauma alone, or somebody who's trained to do depression or anxiety alone. And it's just the way that whatever it is that they're trained in, excuse me, how they speak to you, how they ask their questions, how they help you process makes the difference in what it is that you're going to them for. So, not everybody can do trauma therapy. Not everybody can do child therapy,
Yeah,
play therapy. That's a
that's
big
good.
one for children.
Yeah.
So, there is different, I guess, subjects.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and what I
Levels of treatment, kind of
yeah,
like in a hospital, like there's different specialties.
exactly. And what I will say is that when you are looking for a therapist, Psychology Today is a great place because when somebody becomes licensed, that's where they put their profile to kind of expose themselves and promote themselves. Go through the profiles, read their profiles. They'll list on their profiles what it is that they're specialized in. So if you know that you need somebody who can work with someone who's depressed or anxious or has, bipolar, whatever it is, look into that because then you'll be able to narrow down your choices based on what they are specialized and trained in.
I like that you said that because I feel like people might be a little shy or worried about the type of person that they have. And I think they need to understand that you can also shop your therapist or counselor. Like you need to find what works for you. I don't know if you want to add some input into that.
Absolutely. Therapy is all about you, right? It's centered around you. You're going to be doing a treatment plan for you. You want to make sure that you build great rapport with it's all about you. You have to feel comfortable to be yourself, to share yourself, because if you're not, then you're not going to get the best treatment out of it. If you feel like you can't say something um in front of someone because they're going to react a different way because of the person that you feel like they are, or because they mentioned something before, which now has shot. Like, you know, there's so many different things that can kind of deter, you know, the relationship.
Right.
What I would say is be honest, be truthful. Let that person know if the relationship doesn't change, if the communication doesn't change, you might have to seek out somebody else, because you want to get the best out of it.
Right. Right. That makes sense. So I know we talked about it earlier, and I kind of want to dive a little deeper into it.
Okay.
Specifically, mental health in the Black community. I
Ooh.
feel like this community, like, we need a little TLC. We need a little love. Tell us a little bit about something. Like, what are the statistics? Like, let us dive into this.
So yes, it's a huge taboo to talk about mental health in the Black community. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with religion as well. Like, we keep it in the family. We don't really show our emotions. We don't talk about these certain things. Even if somebody who is severely mentally ill and knows it, other family members may not know it. Just, you
Right.
know,